Good evening, everyone. And it's a pleasure being here. And within the next hour or so, hopefully I can share some information with you, leave you inspired, leave you motivated to do the things that you want to do in life, just like I'm doing the things that I want to do in life. How many of you know everyone in the room here? Anyone? I want you to do this. I want you to make eye contact with somebody that you've never met before in your life. I want you to take 1 minute. Just 1 minute and tell them as much as you can about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do. And then in that second minute, they're going to tell you something about themselves. Everybody, the only thing that I require you to do in order to do this is, one, you have to stand up and you have to find someone that you don't know. Okay, let's go. Find somebody you don't know. 3, 2, 1. Get you folks to talking and you won't shut up, see? Okay? That's what happens. I've done this 700 times in every engagement that I've ever done. And I find some very interesting things when I find how you interacted. Was there anyone that found anybody that had something in common with them? Same field, different institutions. Anyone did you talk about any kids? What did you talk about? What's some of the things that you talked about? Okay, have something in common. Anything else? Anyone else did something that you want to share about the person that you talked to or anything? Anybody remember anything about the person that they talked to? Anything in particular? Just anything that I want to share with you tonight. I want to share with you that it's not the building, it's not the mortar, it's not the bricks. But I've found people ask me all the time, how did you leave your job and how did you get out here? What did you do? And I tell them all the time, it's the network, it's the people that you meet that makes the difference. So I believe that everyone in here, and we've all heard the 6 degrees of separation, I think it might be 2 degrees or 3 degrees. And I really believe that. So if you can meet someone tonight and keep in touch and stay in touch with that person, then you've met everything that I want to accomplish tonight. That doesn't mean you can leave right now. It just simply says. So we're going to have a fun time. It's sort of a new experience for me. This is my second go around. And a friend of mine now who's sitting in the back can attest. He was over at my house Saturday morning when we were unloading close to 10,000 copies of those books right there, putting them in my basement. Okay? And he was with me, him and 12 other friends came over to do that. And that's my vision and that's my dream, and I'm living it, and I'll share a little bit of that with you tonight. What we've done is we passed out a quiz. I had about 2 minutes and answer each one of those. And this is strictly for you. This is strictly for you. But this is something that I just started offering. It's for you. You can keep it, but I'll give you the point scale after you finish. But this is designed to see if you're on track with where you want to go, if you are practicing what you preach. Okay? And again, just go down, answer them real quick, and then I'll give you the point scale after we finish. Well, you guys are concentrating hard. Wow. Introspective. My name is E.J. Bassette, so just call me E.J. or call me Edge. It's the easiest way to remember. And I'm so proud of this. This is the first night that I'm actually showing this to anybody except my family, my kids, a few friends. So I'm going to go right out of the book, what we're going through right now. But it says, practice what you preach. Can anyone tell me what that means? Anyone? What does practice what you preach mean? Okay, do what you tell others to do. And there's no wrong answer. And for tonight, this is interactive. This is not me standing up here talking to you for an hour and you not participating. I'm a little bit facilitator, a little bit motivational, but at the end, we want to all reach the point that we want to reach personally. So each and every individual is going to be in a different spot where they want to be. So when I talk, you raise your hand, I'm going to be like a school teacher. I'm going to call you out. Put my hand on your shoulder, make you participate. So being where you want to be, doing the things that you want to do. Any other answers for that? Anything else? Say what you mean and mean what you say. Yes. Walk the talk. Now, how many of us do that consistently, all the time? Not many of us, no one, including myself. Including myself. And I wrote this for you know who? I wrote this for me. I wrote this for me. Because I said, how good could I really be Have you ever thought about that? If you could be your best, if you could do it your best, if you could just try your best, how good could you really be? I posed that question to myself. Like you, I've seen people doing special things out here in the world, and I said, boy, I would like to be a person like that, a person who can do what they say they want to do. Because in life, how many chances do you get to live this life that we know of? One time on this earth. So this is no trial run. This is the real deal right now. It starts, it says, number 1. And in there, I want you to put, for the first thing that you have to do to practice what you preach is to start where you are today. Write that in what number 1 is. Start where you are. See, many of us, and there's a saying that goes with this. Look at the past, or we look at the future. But few of us live for today. Okay. So what this says is that you start now. I want everybody to do this. Snap your finger over your head. Okay, you have just snapped all your problems away. Okay, your bills, they're gone. That man that you don't like, he's out of here. That dude is out. She said, hey, I'm going to snap everything away. No, he ain't gone yet. I mean, he's going to be home when you get home. But see, if you start now, imagine if you could start your life right now from this point, forgetting everything that has ever happened. Everything. Wouldn't that be great? But do you know you can do that? So 6 years ago, I wanted to start this business. And I was working for Johnson & Johnson at the time. And I was the top salesman in the country for one of the largest companies in the world. And I decided that I wanted to do something more. And it started one night when I was watching TV. And there was this little boy whose face came across the screen. And I'll never forget him, and I'll never forget what happened. This little boy's name was Eric Morse. And Eric Morse was a little boy that was thrown from the 14th floor in Ida B. Wells housing projects. And I was sitting there watching the show, and my son, who was 7 years old at the time, was watching along with me. And this little boy didn't want to steal any candy. So he was only 5 years old, and these other two little boys decided to take him to the 14th floor to the abandoned apartment. You remember that story? And they pushed him out of the window. But before they did, his brother wrestled with these two little boys, and they overtook him, and they took Eric and put him on the window ledge and pushed him out. And he fell 14 floors. But he didn't die. He lived for 2 days. My son was watching that, and he said, Dad, he said, why didn't you save that little boy? See, let me tell you about my son. My son used to think I was the biggest man in the world. When he was small, he would look at me, he would say, Dad, is anybody bigger than you? I said, no way. He said, what about Michael Jordan? I said, I saw Michael Jordan the other day. He's about right here to me. He would watch me shave, and he would say, Dad, what's that stuff? I said, son, it's a beard. One day you'll have one. Everything I did, my son wanted to do it. And now he knew that I would do anything for him. So he wanted to know what I would have done for that little boy that looked just like him. And for the first time in a long time with my son, I didn't have an answer for him. Because I knew that I had grown up right across the street from where that little boy was thrown from. 22 years of my life was spent right there in that neighborhood. And what if I had gone back to a school and talked to those little boys and had done something that had motivated them to be different than who they were? What if I had given back to the community in which I came from? And so those were the questions that started me on this path.
You're listening to E.J. the Edge Bassette. Today's inspiration is entitled, Why Your Story Must Be Told. We'd like to thank the Unbreakable Stories Club for hosting The Edge today. If you'd like more inspiration, please follow Edge on Instagram and DM the word story, and we'll send you the link. This session is sponsored by Bassette Solutions at BassetteSolutions.com. Thank you for listening, and know that we're all part of the solution.
Number one, you have to start where you are. On the form it says most people, then there's a blank. I want you to fill that in. It says most people drown 3 feet away from the shore. Most people drown 3 feet away from the shore. Isn't that incredible? You're right there. You're right where you want to be. And some of us right now are drowning right in this room. It's called overwork. It's called underpaid. It's called our manager takes us for granted. You heard of that before? It's called looking at our lives and one day saying, boy, I wish I could do it again. We're right there. How many of you are doing what you want to do and you're in the spot you want to be in right now in your life? Raise your hand. Okay, there's a few. And everywhere I go, there's a few. There's always less than 5% that's doing what they really want to do. How do you do what you want to do? On this sheet it says you have to do what you do best. You have to do what you do best. And how do you find what you do best? Well, people tell you all the time what it is that you do. They say, girl, you know you can. Oh, I love the way you're just a natural at doing. It's not something that you have to pay for. It's not something that you have to go out and take a lot of money to do. But it's something that you do all the time. And you heard the expression, if you find out what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. You heard that expression before? And so 5 years ago, I had a great idea, and I said to my wife, I said, you know, I want to start a business. Because I had a knack for telling stories. I had a knack for people listening to me. I would always enchant my peers with these fantastic stories about where I came from and what I did for a living. And I made everything adventurous, bigger than life. I want you to put on that paper right now what you think you do better than anything else. You don't have to name a job. You don't have to put a title to it. You can make it an action. You might help people. You might share a lot. You might talk well. Others may believe in you. But I want you to know what it is that you do well. If you can't think of it, then I'm glad I'm here today. Because if you don't know what you are and what the essence of you are, then you can't truly practice what you preach. Is there anyone here that can't tell what they do better than anything else? They've never thought about it? There's no right or wrong. Don't make me look at your paper. Okay. You can't think of it? Well, this is one of your life missions. They say there's only 2 things you're here to do in your life. 1 is to serve God, and 2 is to find your purpose. That should be your life's mission, to find your purpose. So we're going to help you search for that purpose. Anyone here knows what they want to do, because only 2 or 3 hands went up and said that they were doing what they're in the right place at the right time. So someone who's not in the right place in the right time, tell me what it is that you do better than anything else. I'm going to raise that hand. Don't make me come over. I'll come over there real quick. Just one or 2 people share with us. Yeah. Meeting people. Okay, networking. I met him, how many years? No, I'm not going to tell you. We met in the club, man. We used to hold the wall up, didn't we? Every weekend. And I remember my last time there because something changed in my life, and it was Eric Moore. Okay, talking to people intimately. Okay, this side of the room, anyone? See, there's no wrong or right answer. There's no wrong or right answer. And sometimes we're embarrassed about what we're going to say because we think that other people are judging us. And when we truly practice what we preach, you'll learn to talk about what you say, who you are, because you want other people to help you with it. And when it becomes so powerful, you can't stop talking about it. It becomes your mission. It becomes your purpose. Number 2, what do you have to do? It says develop your philosophy and ideas, and put that in number 2, to develop your philosophy in life. Develop a philosophy and develop your ideas. And let's talk about a philosophy, what that is. Because we all have them. Your philosophy is what you value. It's what you stand for. You've heard the saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for what? Anything. Now, you have a philosophy whether you know it or not. See, when I was about 12 years old, my mother, who I was the youngest of 9 children, she told me one day, she said, as hard-headed as you are, as hard-headed as you are, she said, if you believe in God and you trust in God, all things are possible. Do you know, as a little boy sitting in Ida B. Wells projects, I believed what my mom told me, and to this day, I believe that I can do anything and that anything is possible because God is in charge. See, it could be a philosophy that your grandmother taught you. It could be a scripture. It could be a quote. It could be something that someone told you. But each and every one of us have something that we believe in because all of us stagger sometimes. And we almost fall. And our philosophy is what keeps us going. It's what keeps you coming to work every day. Write it down, what it is. And if you don't know it, I want you to raise your hand. Anyone want to share what their philosophy, their life philosophy is? Yes. Everything happens for a reason. If you can conceive it, you can achieve it. Yes. Never settle for less than your heart desires, can desire. To be weak is to be strong.
Treat the next person like you want to be treated.
Treat the next person like you want to be treated. One more.
A mistake is not an error until you refuse to correct it.
A mistake is not an error until you refuse to correct it. See, we all have that. But how many of us keep it front of mind? If I were you, I would write it down and keep it in front of you. Put it on your mirror. What you stand for. What you believe in. Because once you're rooted in what you believe, it makes you walk away from things that you don't believe in. You'll walk away from a job if you really believe in your mission and your purpose and your philosophy. It says my idea on the sheet. So you have your philosophy down. Do you know they say every one of us has 4 ideas a year that can make us wealthy? And you've seen this before. You have been in your bed at night and you had a great what? You had a great what? Idea. And instead of writing it down, what did you do? You said, I'm going to write it down when? In the morning. And what happened in the morning when you woke up? It was gone. Then you saw an infomercial a year later. And while you was looking at that, you was hitting your girlfriend, girl, that was my idea. They stole it. I had a great idea. And that idea was to start speaking. And then I had another passion. I wanted to write a book. My best friend from 4 years old had always talked about writing a book when we grew up. And I had that passion to do those 2 things, to give back after I saw Eric Morris and to write a book. I want you to list down one idea that you've had that you want to do, a passion that you have. Write it on that sheet. I'm making you think tonight. Oh, why are you making us think? Because this is more important than any job that you have. This is about you. You know, your husband is tired of you coming home complaining about your job. Yeah, to speak. Okay, talk to me after the event. You have several speakers in here. That brother right there, now in the back, with the black shirt on, he's a speaker also. Anyone else have something they want to share? It gets you nervous when you write this down, because you gotta start believing it. So sometimes we get hesitant. In some of my workshops, I've had adults tell me, why am I going to dream? Life is reality. I just turned 40 years old, and hopefully I'm just starting my life. I'm not ending it, I'm just starting it. And I hope, I see some tired looking for, some 40-year-olds have made me depressed. I'm like, is this the way it's supposed to be? You just act too young. You're having too much fun. No. I'm a young 40, if there's a such thing. I don't think 40 is old. I mean, I was surprised. It ain't bad. 40 ain't bad. It ain't bad at all.
We'd like to give a special thank you to the Unbreakable Stories Club for hosting The Edge today. Please consider giving the club, as well as the people on stage, a follow. If you'd love to tell your story and want information on how to make that happen, please follow The Edge on Instagram and DM the word author, and we'll send you the link to our Aspiring Authors Academy. We're sponsored by Bassette Solutions of BassetteSolutions.com. Thank you for listening, and never forget, we're all part of the solution.
But I had this great idea, and this idea was to start this business. So I went to my wife and I said, honey, I have a great idea. I want to start a company. But in order to start the business, you have to have one dreamer and one income. Now, my wife had been home with the kids for 5 years. We have 3 children. And at the time, they were 11, about 7, and 3. And I said, I want to write a book, and I want to start the business. I said, but I can't do it and work full time. I said, can you go back to corporate America? Now, my wife was a computer technician at the time, and now she's a project manager. She works on the 22nd floor of this building. She said, I'm not going back there. She said, no. So I said, well, what's the real deal, honey? You know, I'm a salesman, 16 years, right? I said, what's the real issue? She said, EJ, you know, the kids, who's going to do the homework and all of that stuff? I said, so what you're really saying is if you went back and I was here with the children every day to do homework, you feel a little better about that. And I saw her ear move. Yeah. I said, I got her going now. Then I said, she said, but it's not just that. She said, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on around this house. You got to cook and clean. And I said, I'll tell you what. I said, if you go back full time, I'll cook and clean. I'll do it all. And every day at 3 o'clock when the bus comes around, I'll be at home. I'll speak in the morning. I'll speak after you get home from work. She put one resume out there. Didn't want to go to the interview. I kicked her out the door. She got the job at EDS company. She was working for EDS before she was working here. And do you know that she started going to work and I started taking care of the kids and working on my books? One day she came in, I had an apron on, this is no lie. She walked in, she put her briefcase down, and I was standing over the stove. And she noticed I had tears in my eyes. She said, what's wrong? I said, you don't understand, I just cleaned up and these kids have messed up. I said, when you come in, all you want is dinner on the table. I said, what about me? I said, then you want me to have my hair done looking cute for you when you walk in. And all you do is talk about your problems with your job. Then I said, that's not what makes it so bad. I said, I don't mind cooking and doing the homework and cleaning. I said, but when you come in and after you eat, all you do is go upstairs and tell me to come up there so you can have your way with me. She said, that's right, it's been a long day. Get up there now. So it's a tough job being at home. About 2 years into that thing, and Ty, is sitting here, is a good friend of mine. She know our kids went to school together out in South. Raise your hand, Ty. A very good friend of mine. And our daughters are in the same classroom, all the way from kindergarten. And we would sit at Dunkin' Donuts, and all the ladies would sit around, and I'd be right there with them, talking about our husbands and wives. I said, I got to do something else. These kids driving me crazy. Taking me for granted like this. So at 3 o'clock, I got smart. About 3 years into this thing, at 3 o'clock, I would look for any engagement. I say, I'll speak for free, just to be away from that house. That was the toughest job I ever did in my life. But now my daughter's 16 years old. She just started driving. Son is 14. He just started high school, starting free safety on his football team. That's right. That's right. And my daughter's in 5th grade. And so now I can leave out a little more. So this year when we started again, I said, honey, this year I'll be traveling more. Because for the last 5 years, 90% of what I did was in this area for my children. The greatest investment I ever made in my life. Because my kids know their dad. They can come to me quicker than they can come to their mom. And that's been a blessing in my life. You're supposed to go, he's such a good man. I'm just going to buy all his books. Number 3, operate out of values and principles. Number 3 is to operate out of your values and principles. Okay, so you operate out of your values and your principles. Regular way, as natural as you can. Okay, now take your arm and flip it the opposite way. Feels a little awkward, doesn't it? She still flipping. Just flip them the other way, don't. She thinking about it, writing it down, computing it. It's difficult to do that because, well, you tell me why it's difficult to flip when you flip your arms.
Because you're comfortable.
It's happening. You're comfortable. You're comfortable. So to truly practice your values and principles, you have to, first of all, change some of your habits, change some of your ways. So I want you to list one thing down there that you really need to change. Just list one thing for yourself. What is it that I need to change in order to get to where I want to go? What's that one thing? I know I had to leave Desjoies. I'm not lying. Because every Friday night, I found a way to get to Desjoies. Man, we'd be lit on the wall together. And when I started working on that book, the first book, that took me out of Desjoies. Because you know when I started writing? Friday nights. And I said, I'm going to write every Friday night. And my wife said, I'll take the kids on Saturday. And so she gave me Friday evening, and then she gave me about 3 or 4 hours on Saturday, every weekend. And when I wouldn't write, she would see, she'd say, I haven't seen you write in a while. I'm write no book. Who believe I can write a book? Somebody said, how could you write a book? I didn't think you could read. You know, your friends will get on you from the old days. They'll slap you right on down. Everybody listen to the habit that they can change? You don't have to talk about it. Number 4 is you have to take responsibility. Okay, number 4 is to take responsibility. And that's for your life. Take responsibility for your own life. Let me tell you all something. It ain't your manager's fault. Okay? It ain't nobody, it ain't your man's fault, it ain't your woman's fault, it ain't your wife, it ain't your husband, it ain't your spouse, significant other. It's nobody's fault but yours. My niece called me yesterday in tears. Oh, my man left me. Oh, my man left me. I said, but for 5 years I've been telling you to go back to school. I don't want to talk to you no more. I bet you don't. Because I ain't going to cry along with you. See, this has been going on so long that you knew it was coming. Some of you know where you're going to end up at. You know it. You know you're in a dead-end situation. In either a relationship or somewhere else, but you're not changing it. So you have to take responsibility. And how do you do that? One is by answering these 5 critical questions that you should answer. And I'll give you the questions. Number 1, what is my purpose? First question you need to answer. What is my purpose? Number 2, if I had all the money in the world, if I had all the money, what would I do? What would I be doing? Because some of us say it's a money thing. We all, girl, if I had more money, if I could just get some more money. Now, if I had support from my family, if I had total support from my family, what would I be doing? And that's number 3. So money and then support from family. Number 4, when do I want to do it? When do I want to do it? It's a question you got to answer. When do you want to do it? When do you want to get started with this thing? And number 5 is, how do I want to do it? What's your strategy to doing it? Okay? And if you can answer those things, you'll be well on your way to taking responsibility.
You're listening to E.J. the Edge Bassette. Today's inspiration is entitled, Why Your Story Must Be Told. We'd like to thank the Unbreakable Stories Club for hosting The Edge today. If you'd like more inspiration, please follow Edge on Instagram and DM the word story, and we'll send you the link. This session is sponsored by Bassette Solutions at BassetteSolutions.com. Thank you for listening, and know that we're all part of the solution.
Number 5 is you have to have dreams. Number 5 is you have to have dreams. Goals. So dreams/goals. /destination. And Stephen Covey writes about this. You got to have, if you was going somewhere on a trip, what's some things you would need? You would need to know where you're going, right? You need to know how much money you're taking, and you need to know how you're going to get there. Most of us, and you've heard this before, plan more on a vacation than we do for our own lives. We take more time to know where we're going to go on a vacation. We spend 2-3 years working on a vacation, but we won't sit down one night and plan out our lives. So how do you do that? First you say, who has supported my vision? Now the Bible says, where there's no vision, the people what? Why do they perish with no vision? There's no hope. There's no light. As a community, we're like a people without a vision. As a community, as a whole, we have individuals who are doing well, but we're not doing well. Or that sheet that says, who has been in my corner? Who supported my vision? Think of a person who's on your team, who's on your side, and list them in there. And then it says, who has limited my vision? And Les Brown calls those toxic relationships. So who's been in my corner? For me, I know unequivocally it's been my wife who's been there. Because the next thing I said was, honey, when I wrote the first book, I said, in order to write this book, I researched it and found out that there was this thing called self-publishing that you can do. And I went and saw other speakers speak, and I saw them with their products, and I said, honey, it's a way that you can write a book and publish it yourself. But it's going to cost me about $20,000 to do it. So I popped the question to her. I said, can I borrow it from the family account, our investment funds, as we would say. And she said, sure. She said, because I know you've done it before and you'll do it again. And for 3 years, I started working on that first book, writing it on the weekends and at night. So she supported my vision. Now it says V plus A equals S. Right in there, vision plus action equals success. Vision plus action equals success. Vision plus action. Then it says, you can put in the second one, vision plus no action. Now imagine that you have a lot of things that you want to do, and you've seen people do this a lot. They sell Amway. Next time you see them, they selling Mary Kay. Then you see them again. They selling telephones. A lot of vision, but no action to finish anything. You know what that's called? That's vision plus no action is called a fantasy. That's called a fantasy. You dream about everything, but you finish nothing. Then, no vision, but you busy all day. How many of you go home and you don't even remember what you did that day? I'm working. I worked at night. What you do? I don't even know my title. Where's my job? I just do something. They just have me running. I'm tired. Now we tell our kids, I'm tired. That's a lot of action with no dreams. That's called frustration. No vision plus action is called frustration. You busy and you frustrated. Anybody here like that? See, the last 7 years, you can tell exactly what I did. How many books did I write? I wrote 2. It's visible right in front of you. So that time was not wasted because that counted for something. Some of you would recount your last 7 years, it's a blur. It's just a thing. It just happened. There's nothing you can say you did that's significant to yourself. And you will regret that time when you replay it in your mind. I guarantee you. I want you to write down 4 or 5 things on that dream list, 4 or 5 places you want to go, things you want to do. If you want a new car, you want a new husband, a new wife, write it down. Just don't let them see it when you get home. Hide that piece of paper. And don't tell them I told you to write it. Don't say the speaker told me I wasn't going to write it. He told me to write down to get rid of you. No, don't say that. Just write it down. Any salespeople in any profession are in that organization in Chicago. It's a powerful organization. I'm a member of that organization also. Now I want you to write down, it says 5 things that can help me accomplish my goals. That's for you to fill out, those particular things. Those particular things. How's everybody feel? Can we go about another 10, 15 minutes? Is everybody all right? Anybody just got to go? Huh? Well, you go back in the back and you fill out a little order form before you leave so you can buy something. Now, I want to have a raffle before you leave. So what we're going to do, if you can take out a business card and put it into that little red bottom shield. Pam will bring it up. Number 6. Number 6 is to seek out a balanced life. Number 6, to seek out a balanced life. And that's on the first, number 6 on the second page. To seek out a balanced life. And let me give you the 6 areas of balance that you need. Here you go. The 6 areas of balance. 1 is your family life. Family. And this is not in order of significance, of importance, but 2nd is your spiritual. 3rd is your financial. 4th is your intellectual. 5th is your social. And 6th is your mental, physical, and emotional balance. Now I want everybody to do something right quick. I want you to draw a circle right next to those words, just a little circle, a life wheel, like a little circle, just right next to this little part right here. Right next to that little circle, I want you to put 6 pieces to the pie, like mark out 6 little pieces like a pie. Draw a dot right in the middle, a circle right in the middle where you're going to mark from. And from that dot in the center, I want you to fill in that pie going up, center outward, and fill in the part of your life that is fulfilled, and leave the part that's not blank. So if your pie is half full, that means you're living half of your financial life. If your intellectual part of your life is almost full, then fill it in almost. Shade it in for each one. And be honest with yourself. I've had people fill in the entire 6 circles all the way. But then they sitting in the middle of Ida B. Wells. I'm serious, because I do a lot of training with CHA. So I want you guys to be a little more introspective and say, hey, I'm not where I want to be in this area. I'm fulfilled in this area. And all the boxes shouldn't be even on the edges. And then what I want you to do is, now you have a new circle. Take your pen, and if that circle is a little jagged now because you're closer up here, you're farther back here, I want you to make a new edge around your wheel. What your new circle is. Draw a line around that new box. Now, how many of you still have a perfect will? Now, you shouldn't have a perfect will now. I don't want to spend a lot of time, but your will should be a little jagged now, shouldn't it? Now, imagine the wheel of life, and you're trying to ride that tire now. It'd be a little bumpy, wouldn't it? And that's the whole point, that your wheel is jagged now. And so we want to get that wheel almost as round as it can be.
We'd like to give a special thank you to the Unbreakable Stories Club for hosting The Edge today. Please consider giving the club, as well as the people on stage, a follow. If you'd love to tell your story and want information on how to make that happen, please follow The Edge on Instagram and DM the word author. And we'll send you the link to our Aspiring Authors Academy. We're sponsored by Bassette Solutions of BassetteSolutions.com. Thank you for listening, and never forget, we're all part of the solution.
Okay, now I'm going to run through the next few things for you on this page. It says happiness. Happiness exists, and let me give you the definition for happiness. Happiness exists, or H, write this down, the letter H, equals B, the letter B is in Bob, times C, as in cat. H equals B times C, times D. Okay, and let me give you that. They say happiness exists, and we're happiest when the things that we believe in, which is the B, you can write belief over the B. The things that you believe in are consistent, which is the C, with the things that you do, which is the D. You're happiest when the things you believe in, the things that's close to you, is consistent with the things that you do. And you can add one more D to this. And a kid in a grade school told me this. He said, but it's the things you do daily. So add another D. Now imagine this. You doing one thing over here, but you know you believe in this. Are you truly happy? No. You working over here, but you really looking across the water. Are you really happy? You really in this relationship, and you checking him out. No, I don't want to say that. Okay, now, fear. I'll give you the definition for fear. Fear is when false expectations appear real. Fear, false expectations appear real. Number 7. It says you have to build lasting relationships. Number 7. To practice what you preach, you have to build lasting relationships. And in order to build lasting relationships, you have to know who you are. Are any of you guys evolving as time goes, as you get older? Are you evolving into someone different than you used to be? Anybody going through that? I used to be hell. I used to be hell growing up in Ida B. Wells. I was one of those guys you did not want to meet back then. And I still hear about those days when I run into people from my youth. I mean, they say some things to me that it blows me away. Duke walked up to me one day in Bennigan's. He said, man, aren't you E.J. Bassette? I said, yeah. He walked away and he came back. He said, but you look real now. He said, man, you used to look hard, man. He said, man, you stole my books. I'm sorry. To walk up to me, she said, you cussed me out in college. I know I did. I'm sorry. Do you know that I evolved because one of my best friends on that college campus that I attended, Western Illinois University, was the same way? Really, 2 or 3 of us. And we had come to high school and went down to Western Illinois, and we just caused hell. We took all the baggage, but the wrong baggage, not the luggage you carry, the luggage of ignorance. And when we got down there, we just ran that school ragged. We said we're black, nobody cared. That was our reason. Cussing women out, fighting in parties. beating people up, going, finding anybody to do anything with. But do you know, one night, my best friend got stabbed on that campus. And I had to go to the police station. When I went to the police station, they said, your friend was murdered. About a month earlier than that, I had changed my life. And I had pleaded with him to change. I said, man, we got to grow up. We got to get out of here. We have to go back home and be responsible. And a month later, he was dead. I called home at midnight to his grandmother and his mother. And the first thing his mother said when she picked up the phone, she said, what's wrong with my baby? See, at home, he was just his mama's baby. But on that campus, we were big men on campus. See, that young man didn't grow to be what I am today. But I wrote about him in that first book that I wrote. And then I told you about my friend who was my best friend from 4 years old who wanted to write the book. My other friend, Ray, said to me, he said, man, we've been together since we were 4 years old. He said, I promise you, I'm not going to die like Deke died. He said, we're going to be together forever. Do you know 6 years later, he went back to the old neighborhood. And I was telling Ray, I said, Ray, don't go back. You ever pleaded with somebody? And you pleading so much for them that you plead more for their life than they plead for their own. I said, man, don't go back. One day my wife called me on my phone and she said, EJ, I have bad news. She said, Ray just got shot. She said, he got shot in the head. I rushed to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, he was on a gurney. And his brother walked in, and his brother was becoming a state trooper that night that Ray was shot. We walked in the room. They didn't put him on a table. They left him on a gurney. They said, we can't operate on him. The bullet has already ripped through his head. Every day I would go to the hospital and I would say, Ray, you can't die. I said, you were the one who said we could make it. You were the one that gave me the dream to write. One day I got close down to Ray in his ear, and I would talk to him every day. And one day I said, man, you can't die. His eyes were always shut closed. And this one day, he looked up, and he looked at me, and a tear came down his eye. The next day, he died. When he died, that burned inside of me. For 3 years, I carried this picture around with his son standing next to him at his funeral. And I carried that picture around in my wallet. And people would ask me, what motivates you? What drives you? And I would say, if you really want to know, if you could really stomach it, I'll show you. And I would show them a picture of Ray and a picture of Deke. And I said, I want to be the man that they never became. I want to show that you can rise above your condition. I want to show that you can get married and have a beautiful wife and beautiful children. I wanted to show that you can stay at home with your children, you can take care of them. I wanted to show that I could love my daughters and teach them how to have a man because they would see me an example of a man. I wanted to show them that you could be with your son and you could talk to him and you could share with him that it's all right to cry. It's all right to be who you are. And I wanted to show us that you can go anywhere in this country and in the world and do anything that you truly believe that you wanted to do. And that's why I wrote this book. I put Ray's son on the front of the book, along with my son and me. And I titled it Silent Cry for that tear that Ray shared. See, Ray has met 300,000 people, but Ray's not here to enjoy any of it. I've traveled around this entire country, and Ray didn't see a day of it. So it's a constant reminder that life is precious, that life is for all of us to live. And I wanted to share that with you. And somebody's going to win this book. Give me a name and bring it up.
You're listening to E.J. the Edge Bassette. Today's inspiration is entitled, Why Your Story Must Be Told. We'd like to thank the Unbreakable Stories Club for hosting The Edge today. If you'd like more inspiration, please follow Edge on Instagram and DM the word story, and we'll send you the link. This session is sponsored by Bassette Solutions at BassetteSolutions.com. Thank you for listening, and know that we're all part of the solution.
So we can draw for the first book, Silent Cry. 7,000 copies have been sold already of this book, and we're looking at doing a 3-man play on this, a play called Ray, Dick, and Me, and we're looking at doing a movie off of this book. Hold on to it, I'll autograph it for you. Okay, I'll autograph it after. Now, I thought that after I wrote that book and talked to 700 different groups and 300,000 people, man, my head got big. I came home, I said, honey, I don't take care of kids no more. I'm the man. I said, people love me. They wait in line for me. I've spoken at Christ Universal Temple, all schools, 400 different schools, companies. She said, you better get out and empty the garbage. And, I wouldn't like her no more. But in that time, I thought I was untouchable. I really did. My head swelled. I don't know if you've ever been somewhere and you start getting everything you think you should want. We act a fool sometimes, right? We say we wouldn't. I started meeting people I had never met. I started sitting on boards that I had never sat on. You'll be lecturing with Jesse Jackson. You, Jesse Jackson, and so on and so. Okay, I'll be there. But a few years ago, things start going bad for me. Book sales start slowing down. Speaking engagements start slowing down. I wasn't ready for that. Then my sister, who was spent 20 years in a bad relationship, got sick 2 years ago. And you know what I'm talking about. We were in a hospital together when my sister was there and her significant other was there, and we talked. I was devastated. She's a year and a half older than me. She was 39 years old. And within 6 months from the day she was diagnosed, she died. I said, I can't do this. I can't speak. I said, I can't do any of this. I just took the life out of me. I would sit in a room, and I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but you just pull the cover over your head, and you don't care if it's day, light, what it is, and I just said, I can't do it. And my wife encouraged me. I used to look at people in church. I said, why are they sitting there rocking back and forth? Then I was in church one day, and I was rocking. I was praying. I called Todd to pray for me. Because when you need help, whew.
We'd like to give a special thank you to the Unbreakable Stories Club for hosting The Edge today. Please consider giving the club, as well as the people on stage, a follow. If you'd love to tell your story and want information on how to make that happen, please follow The Edge on Instagram and DM the word author, and we'll send you the link to our Aspiring Authors Academy. We're sponsored by Bassette Solutions of BassetteSolutions.com. Thank you for listening, And never forget, we're all part of the solution.
For a minute, I panicked. I said, oh my God, what could go wrong now? Right when I'm getting ready to speak. And I started to get that negative attitude. Has anyone ever had that negative attitude before? No, we never had that. And then I said, no, I'm going to make the best of it. So I walked out to my car and I picked up the flashlight. And then I came in and I started talking to people to say, well, what can we do? Can we get a generator in here? Can we come up with an answer? See, more than likely, some of our problems and concerns can be figured out by someone that's just sitting right next to us. And after I talked to a few people, the gentleman came in and he said, we're going to put in another microphone and we'll figure a way to put some lights in. And the situation didn't seem as bleak. Now, how many of you just met someone that you didn't know before? Did you find out something new about that person? How many of you had something in common with that person that you just met? See, most of the things that we're trying to do, and most of the questions that we're trying to solve, and most of the pieces that we're trying to put together, guess what the answers are? They're right here in this room. I know sometimes we look and we say there's no one else that feels the way I feel. There's no one else that has what's going on with me going on with them. But by sharing, I found that people have similar incidents and similar circumstances, and they're willing to help you if you're willing to ask. The mission statement is to enable people to improve their lives and communities through learning partnerships that put knowledge to work. How many of you feel like you help people? That in itself makes you great. By helping others to become better makes you one of the greatest individuals in the world. Now, how many of you feel great? That's not half of the people in the room. As I walked around, I talked to some of you, most of each table, and I asked everyone what did they want me to say if I had a chance, and someone said, I want a raise. I said, I can't talk about that. But we'll talk about other things other than your money. How do you put it together? There are 4 phases of our life that we have to put together. One phase is our spiritual life. There has to be something greater than you and I that exists, because we all fail. So we all need something that keeps us together, that keeps us strong. The second thing that's very important to bring a balance is our family life. How many of you have children? How many of you sacrifice for your children? I know I sacrifice a great deal for my children. The third thing that you have to have is a financial backing. You can't work for free, am I right? You have to have a way to eat and a way to live. But I guarantee you, if you go back to your childhood and you think about your childhood dream and what you wanted to do and what you wanted to be, it was because you wanted to do it out of love and not out of money. The fourth thing that you have to have is a social life. You have to get out and enjoy yourself. How many of you don't enjoy yourself enough? Be honest, you don't have enough fun in your life. Everybody pat the people on the shoulder that just raise their hand and say, it's going to be all right. Just tell them, we're going to get you a social life. Oh, God. You look up and you look at your different situations. Some of you are from the inner city, and some of you are from rural America. Different problems, but all the same. In the urban areas, you say, man, there's so much competition, isn't it? Everybody's vying for your business. They want your children. And in the rural area, you say, I'm the only one out here. I'm by myself. How can I do all of these different things all day, all night? They want me to work forever. Two different sets of problems, but the same. You have to look at what drove you to do what you do. You have to look to what focused you on your goals. I have a sheet that I put in front of you. And I want each and every one of you to look at the green sheet that's sitting right in front of you. And if you have a pen, I want you to take one moment and write down the direction that you're going in. See, if you don't know where you're starting, you won't know where you're going. So I want you to write where it says number 1, goal statement. Write down what it is that you want out of your life. I don't care if it's a job-related goal, or it's a social goal, or it's a spiritual goal, or it's a family-related goal. But write down something that you want and that you want to accomplish. If it's a new car, if it's that coat, if it's that vacation, if it's the lotto, write it down. And if you have a pen and you can't share the pen with someone else, take about 15 seconds and write down what it is that you want. Number 2, I want you to write down the date that you're going to start your goal. What it is that you wrote for number 1, write down at number 2 when you're going to start it. See, 5 years before I decided to leave corporate America, I started saving that $20,000 that I would need one day. I started living below my means. I didn't get the house that my wife wanted to get. And I didn't get the car that she said she wanted. Even though we could afford it, I said, honey, it's one day we might want to have something for ourselves. So let's start putting the nest egg away for that rainy day. So number 2, the time you're going to start, and when do you think that goal will be accomplished? I said almost 5 years to the day that I was going to start that business. And by putting a target date on it, I was able to walk away and not have any regrets. How many of you sometimes you feel overwhelmed? You feel like you do too much. Your kids take too much. Your husband take too much. Too needy. I was at a workshop once and the lady, I asked her these questions here and I said, what is it that you want? And she looked at me and she said, I've never known what I wanted because I always wanted what my kids wanted. She said, I never had time to think about me. You have to take time to think about you. See, when you stop, the world stops. When you stop, everything else goes away. So you have to take time for you. My dream started a long time ago. How many of you had a dream of doing something great when you were smaller? Raise your hand. You said, one day I'm going to do this great thing. I remember as a kid growing up in Ida B. Wells, and those of you who are not familiar with Chicago, Ida B. Wells was a beautiful community at one time. It was a model community on the south side of Chicago. But as time started changing, the area started changing. My first memories of Ida B. Wells was as a very small child, looking at the beautiful flowers and the plants, and seeing people actually come to the area to sightsee, because it was known for the roses and the beautiful grass. Then gangs started coming up in that area, and it started to change. My best childhood memory was of my best friend, Ray. And Ray talked about, as little boys, writing a book. We were only 8 or 9 years old. And he said that one day we would be famous and rich, and one day we would write books, and one day we would be professional sports players and athletes. He said in this book that he was going to write, he was going to be a baseball player, and I was going to be a football player. It was a child's dream. Ray started talking about this dream so much that I, his best friend, started believing that he could actually write it. But as we started getting older, the community started changing. And as the community changed, the dreams started changing. By the time we were in 6th grade, gangs started popping up in the area. And my best friend, I heard, had joined a gang. I couldn't believe it, because in his dream and what he talked about, he wanted to be a baseball player and wanted to be an author. But he started doing things and playing out roles that he started seeing in the community. Now I often think back and I wonder if it would have been someone important like you there to talk to Ray and myself. Think about the children that you talk to and you deal with. The words of encouragement that you have for them. The things that you say that can change their life forever. You never know what it is that you're saying to them. That's important.